Hello, hello. Going live for Friday afternoon Hobby Fest. Been working on the Gallowdark stuff a bit. I managed to get all of the stuff that I had out here done to the point of being ready for the gold step. I have gotten all the stuff that's not over here to the point of being primed, which I was not at that step last week. I also started printing floor tiles to use. I'm going to cut MDF boards to like half the Gallowdark size. I'm going to make 4 of those for now. I think I'll wind up doing more again when I am when I'm at the point where I'm doing the other 2 sets that I'll inevitably get. But it's been a productive week of painting and modeling. I got some new projects kind of floating around. I've been working on some. Need to get it a little closer up, maybe a little differently lit. It's a Gene Stealer cult head on a 3D printed security force from Print Minis, and so it's kind of a it's, you know, I'm doing Gene Stealer cult infested enforcers, which obviously people who have been with me for a long time will know that I did a short story at one point about a Gene Stealer cult infiltrating some enforcers, so it was inevitable that I would eventually get around to them. But I just need to post the link in a couple more spots, and then I'll start painting. I know, not good radio right now. But we shall be deeply into the painting process very soon. And I'm hoping to show like further along, because I actually did get one panel all the way to kind of where the standard of where I want the stuff to go. But you know, all right, got everything posted up. It's time to get painting. So yeah, this is the goal, and we're gonna try our best to get there on as many of these pieces as possible. Starting with just bulk painting lots of gold. Or copper or whatever. As before, and always from now on, I'm primarily using Pro Acryl. I just really like their paints. They're just nicer to paint with than a lot of the other brands. And they also happen to have the best lids. Like, this is just such a useful design. Like, you never misplace the cap, and you don't spill. It's an all-around good design. They make good stuff. All right. So of course we just get right back at it, painting on the Pro Acryl copper, and I am keeping it rather sparingly in terms of the overall color of the metal. I want it to be primarily gold, silver, with just some gold accents, not doing all the trim gold, because I did that in my last design, was like red floors with gold trim, and I want this board to be distinct from that one aesthetically, so the gold is used to a minimum just to help the metals pop a little bit more. And merrily we roll along. It's a kind of a meditative process doing trim like this. You can kind of view it as a slog, where you're just trying to get it done, or you can view it as kind of like it's an active meditation, like Tai Chi or what have you. You're just sort of embracing the process of just sort of gradually making this thing look a little bit nicer, a little bit more distinct, making these details stand out. And of course, I like to do these plaques, and then I like to try to hit them with some verdigris, because I really like the way verdigris looks. I think it adds some nice spot color to a room, although these walls have a green backdrop, so it's not as important on this one as it is in some of the other ones, particularly like the red floors. Having the verdigris to kind of contrast with the red really helped a lot. But you know, it is somewhat down to personal taste. What looks good is a little bit different for everybody. I do gold around the trim of a lot of gauges and screens. It's just a little way to make those pieces pop a little bit more. And then I come in later and I do red on the indicator lines and white on the background. But that's a later activity. Alright. And I am trying to be clean with my brush strokes, but there's always going to be a little bit of overbrushing when I'm trying to work quickly with a large brush. But I clean up a lot of that stuff later as I go. And also with the amount of weathering that we're going to have going on, it's convenient to cover up some, you know, brush errors. So I dry brushed on the silver initially, and then once I get kind of past the once I get past to like the stage where I've done the washes and everything, I tend to do mostly sponging after that rather than dry brushing, because it gives you a little bit more of an organic kind of feel. I don't know how well the camera can capture the detail of the paint job, but when you sponge on the silver instead of dry brushing, it gives you more of a, you know, kind of chaotic, kind of random pattern. Like it looks a little bit more like less designed, and I think a little bit better overall. So that's my approach. So I started out with dry brushed metal and then kind of went on to sponging. Just kind of gradually working around. Happy little gauges. I am a little bit sick, which has not been fun. But I did manage to make a new video last night, even though I wasn't feeling well. And I have another new video I have done salt. I also, just because I kind of, I like I don't really like the kind of, like, the residue or that stuff. I tend to use the, where is it? The, Vallejo chipping medium. It is very effective. The only thing is, for projects like this, where I wanted the depth of the color of the wall comes from using a like pale green as the base and then putting a wash over it with a darker green. If I was to use salt weathering, that would or even the chipping stuff, that would be kind of a nightmare, because that stuff starts to come up like once it gets wet, and so you start to kind of have the area underneath get covered in the wash, which is not what I want. So I tend to use sponging for that reason. But it's always down to what works best for you. A lot of people will swear by techniques, but I try to use a little bit of everything. I play with lots of different ways to do rust, and I think that it keeps the things looking kind of distinct and different. I try to take a lot of pictures of rust. So that stuff doesn't add a crackle effect, but there is crackle paint that I usually just get the stuff at the craft store, because you can get a big thing of it for very cheap. The only thing with the crackle is that you want to put the color you want underneath the crackle down first, then the crackle on top, then you apply the next layer of paint. If you don't do it in that order, it is kind of a little bit weird. But you could use it to make like cracked earth and stuff without too much issue, just putting it down straight on the base. Since you're going to probably be painting over it the whole thing and then washing anyway, it works okay there. A lot of my my hobby supplies are wind up being from Liquitex or other big art company brands, because you get so much more quantity wise. I mean, the amount of wash you can make with a pot of ink compared to buying wash is crazy. And then when you make the leap to oil washing, it's like you're using like this tiny little like itsy bitsy bit of the oil paint mixed with the spirit to get the shading that you want. So I tend to buy a lot of the art supplies from the actual art store. And looking forward to getting all this stuff done. The floor tiles pose an interesting question that I hadn't really thought about, because I was originally thinking about using the cardboard tiles, and I may wind up using those cardboard tiles if I haven't finished the floor tiles by the time we start delving into the prison complex. But the question is what color to paint the floors for something that has kind of these vibrant green walls, and I don't have an obvious answer. I could do like maybe like an orange red as like a contrasting kind of thing, but I don't know. Maybe just plain silver with lots of rust. Hard to say. I'll probably just take one of the floor tiles and paint it up a certain way and see how I feel about it. That's usually the most effective approach, to just kind of play with it and see. And as always, the music is Carl Casey at Whitebat Audio. It's good stuff. The man knows how to make an ambient electronica song that I can paint to. All right. So, got. Let's see. All right. So now that that's done, more or less, I often will find spots that I want to put gold on it in later. That's okay. I like to do the Pro Acryl Olive Flesh for the whites because nothing in this is going to wind up looking clean white. So starting with an off-white is a nice first step. And I'll go down to brush size. The 6 is great for working in this scale, but when you start trying to get into smaller spaces, it's better to have the number 4. All right. So I'm just coming around hitting the spots that need to be white or need to be other bright colors with this. So like these cables will all wind up being various bright colors. I like to make the cables pop just because it creates more that feeling of depth and visually interesting kind of eye-catching stuff that makes the model look better than it is, I guess. I mean, if it looks better than it is, then is it really not that good? I don't know. It's take the philosophers decades to figure that out. Alright. Skulls, of course. Wouldn't be Warhammer if there weren't just skulls stacked in every corner. Utility skulls. Bit by bit. Get in there and get the job done. Drop some white on these indicator lights and cables. And we got servo skull here, a screen here, another servo skull, more wires. Lots of fun little details on these things. But I could imagine this being intimidating for someone who is a slow painter, just because of, not even because of the difficulty of doing it, just because of the commitment of wanting to, do everything at least enough so that it doesn't kind of stand out as being missing something. Stuff like silver cables I think don't get noticed that much, but like you probably want your servo skulls to pop out. I mean, maybe the cables are silver, who knows? I like the little TV panels. They have enough screens that I feel like at least one of them is for watching like gladiatorial fights or something. And just coming around, getting all this stuff. And of course I miss stuff every time through. I go back and fix it. It's nice to have a process. Hello! Good to see you, Robin. But yeah, get in there. Look at all these screens. At least one of these screens is used for watching some kind of sporting event. There's no way it's all utilitarian. There's so many. It's not strictly necessary for me to color them white first, but I am going to paint them black using black contrast paint. So I don't want them to look like they're metallic. I want them to look matte, you know, not matte, but black. I went on about 20 minutes ago. And so we work our way around. Yeah, exactly. Blood Bowl. Whatever the Necromunda equivalent of reality television. Or soap operas. Oh man, soap operas in the Warhammer universe must be truly demented. Yeah, I really liked the new lizards, even though I know that I have no functional reason to use them for anything. I really like that. The new slan looked awesome. And the Arbites are absolutely beautiful. Personally, I'll probably keep them separate. But it's kind of a weird thing where I have an Arbites army that's made up of the old Enforcer models plus the old Arbites models plus a bunch of conversions. So I don't know what I'm going to do with those guys. I might just repurpose their bodies and make them Enforcers and do a new paint scheme or something. I haven't decided yet. But I'm definitely going to go ham on the Arbites. I'll probably print them there's like a Rhino tank that has a... There's like a Rhino tank that has the thing on the top. It used to be on the Sisters line. I think it may be like the Retributor or something. But the Arbites used to be pictured with them. And I really want to do one of those for my Arbites crew. But I'll definitely wind up getting another set of them because I want to do all 20. And I want them all to look like that aesthetic. But they would be awesome for making like a particularly ostentatious Enforcer. You know, the real dandies. Yeah. Everyone loves Jericho. Really got me. Oh, Cal. The most handsome and unlucky man in the Underhive. Alright. So, now that we have the white down, the next step, I would say, is to do the cables. So, I like to do some of them yellow. So, just come in and whoop. And make this one yellow. And we'll go all the way across. That's actually broken, so I'm going to wind up... This one's not. I'll wind up painting brown all over that gold or yellow that I just put down. And this one in there. I use a mix of colors for the cables. Just kind of doing them. Nice. Yeah, the prospectors are really nice models. I want to get some more of them. I want them to do a weapon kit for them because they're missing a bunch of stuff. Even though I know I could kit bash it, or even digitally kit bash it. I still want them to do it. I really don't mind paying for plastic upgrade kits for the Necromunda stuff. Even potentially, occasionally resin, although it's hard to justify when I am building out as many gangs as I do. Nice. I love Gene Stealers. I was a little disappointed with how these ones turned out, just because the Print Minis bodies are just a little bit on the small side. I don't know. I don't have anything on hand to compare it to, but the GW parts just feel a little bit big, and I just wish that people would do their base sizing for Necromunda proxies a little bit bigger to kind of match the stuff that you're kind of basing it on. Maybe. I know that I could have measured it myself, but I printed an entire squad before I realized it. Because an entire squad fit on one build plate. Although, would it at 10% bigger? That is the question. Or there isn't a question. Alright. It's coming in. Doing more cables. printer is acting up. Alright. Oh yeah. Thank you. That was a lot of fun, that game. And I have finally figured out the kind of plot we're interrupting, so sometimes I like to give the campaign a little bit of room to kind of have everyone establish themselves before I start introducing the major plot elements. So in this situation, the bad guy threat, I waited a while to actually get to them, and I'm glad I did, because it's given us a chance to really get a feel for the environmental effects, all that kind of stuff that has been making the game kind of interesting and different. Alright. Doing lots of little bits of red. But yeah, I also, in addition to the Genestealer cult enforcers, I made a new vehicle for the street Genestealer cult, the jumpsuit guys. So that'll be fun. I'm not quite sure how to integrate them into the game structure right now, just because of we're doing a lot of kind of versus stuff, and I don't think that there's a specific reason for the gangs to want to cooperate with each other at the moment. So just switching to like us versus them doesn't really feel organic. So how we get to the point where all three are on the board, or do we start having games where there's where each of us is playing against the Genestealers but not each other? I don't know. I'm gonna talk it over with the guys, see what they think, cause I really want the kind of existing campaign to sort of continue on, where we're sort of fighting each other, while also mixing in the story elements, while still fitting within the time limit that I've set for the campaign. But maybe we'll play some extra games within the structure. Like, we'll still play each other with challenges and stuff, but we'll also mix in arbitrated games that are in addition, and so stretch out the length a little bit. All right. These walls really are fantastic. I'm really excited to do the fully detailed floors as well. I think this is going to look really cool on the table. And it'll be a board at Nova this year. At least one. I might have both. Okay. Working our way around. I think I'm ready to switch to another color. But yeah, I've been wanting to do a sort of. So it kind of depends. The way I imagine it, the third player who's not playing in the game would control the Gene Stealers. Hey, Masher. Thank you. Okay, what to do next? I guess I didn't do the yellow on this side, so that's a good thing to knock out. And there's not as many cables on this side as on the other one. Alright. Just getting that yellow in. And having that kind of spot color that draws the eye really helps a lot with getting the terrain to look kind of natural. You don't actually have to detail everything. You just have to detail enough that when the person's eyes glance over it, it looks like there's a lot of detail. I know that probably sounds a little nonsensical. So that's what so for the most, so it really depends on the game. So I've used randomization when there's like, but we usually just do whatever unit is nearest by as the target. And we will often have either I control the bad guys or whoever's not playing will control the bad guys. In one instance, and probably potentially in instances during this campaign, but I got to talk to some people. I've managed to have like a guest player come in and control the adversaries, which was a lot of fun. We did an entire arbitrated game that had 2 guest players, and we had over 100 models on the board. There were zombies. It was amazing. Unfortunately, it was before I was filming stuff, so I don't have any footage of it, but I do have pictures of it. Alright. Where is my black contrast? Black Legion. Out of the pot like a heathen. Like the heretic that I am. But yeah, I think that it'll make sense to just have the person who's not playing control the Gene Stealer cults. But it also is kind of a matter of like making sure that everyone is getting what they want out of the games that they're playing. So, you know, I don't want to take too much focus away from like raiding each other's settlements and stuff. But maybe we'll switch to like sometimes we're doing settlement raids, sometimes we're doing fights with the Gene Stealer cult. Sometimes it's just one player versus the Gene Stealer cult, and like one of the other players controls the cult. That is something I think would work the best in certain circumstances for the narrative, since otherwise you have to come up with kind of contrived scenarios where both fighters are running into the Gene Stealer cult. But I do think having them kind of be endemic, where they're just showing up everywhere, is a nice approach, because that kind of justifies the situation. Even just having them kind of cameo at the end of a game like they did in the arbitrated scenario. I was going to do that for the most recent game that I filmed, but unfortunately the game, we had to call it for time at like 2 hours no, sorry, at 2 a.m. After like 4 hours of play. it was just too much. We had to turn in. So we called it. Just coming in with some black and hitting some of these details. Sometimes wires are black, for example. It's not uncommon to have black wires. Sometimes there's white wires. And, you know, alright, over here, for these kind of like ribbed cables, I like to go either black or like a leather color. So I'm doing black for that one. And black in there. And is there anywhere else? Yeah, I guess some of these dials I wanted to be black. I'm never sure what color to color the keyboards and sliders and stuff. And we just get in there. And there. So everything kind of comes down. Boom. It's a slow process, but it is satisfying when you get to the point where things really start to pop. It takes a while when you're working on something this large, and if you're doing it in batches, it can be a little maddening. Even treating it as meditative, it's like I still haven't gotten to the promised land. That kind of challenge is important during meditation, so it still works. All right, I might actually be ready to move on to the next color. I'm going to come around with some contrast skeleton horde. Since there's a lot of skulls. I have 2 boxes worth, or the same amount as is in the boarding action or whatever. So it's a lot. I just did the math. Just printing the floors for this to mount on MDF is gonna take about 100 hours of printer time. And they're thin tiles too. Like, not a thick amount of plastic. But I don't mind. My printer wasn't doing anything anyway. I try to only print when I'm like ready for something to be added to a project or taking on a specific project, because if I just keep my printer running constantly, I wind up backing up with so much stuff to paint that I get kind of discouraged. getting these skulls nice and dirty. Yeah, I think it's only right around like a kilogram, so it's not too expensive. You know, it's like the equivalent of like, I think I get the current spools that I'm buying for around $20. I like to use Skeleton Horde a little bit as a wash sometimes, because it's very light. It's designed to go over white, but it does have a nice kind of subtle brown tint it leaves in like the corners and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna do. Wait. No, wait. I think it's gonna be two kilograms of plastic, 200 hours to do both halves of the double board, the like boarding action size board. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot of printing going on. I'm gonna need to figure out a relatively low stress way of painting these up. Whenever I get print lines, or not print lines, but stringing, I like to just do a quick blowtorch. As long as you don't leave it on for too long. It doesn't affect the main part of the plastic. Alright. Let's see. I might be ready to come in and touch up some metals. And then I'm gonna start doing washes. Then I'll do the screen details after I've done touch-ups. Alright. Just for the sake of using the same color, I'm using this craft paint for the metal. It's been watered down a bit with airbrush thinner. And yeah, it's coming out a little darker. Oops. Because I dry brushed the metal on, the actual shade is a little bit darker. So I'm going to try to mix up a slightly darker metal to put down. That's much more natural, yes. Just to go over the kind of overpainting spots. There's not too many of them, but I like to be thorough. At least where it stands out. But yeah, I'm very excited about figuring out all the kind of prison details to put into the board. I saw a cool set of STLs that were for sale that were like various prison cell accessories. It was like a toilet and bunk and stuff. Although I do have toilets and bunks already, I don't necessarily need to buy one, but if it looks more like a jail one, it might be worth the few bucks that they were selling it for. I just realized that the music ran out because, of course, it did. the playlist was not that long. And boom. All right. Now, where were we? I believe I was going to... I still actually had a few more things to touch up. I always notice little things here and there. Miss them the first time. I see them in a second glance. Alright. I think the first thing we'll do on this one is do a wash on the gold. And the wash that I was doing before was a mix of the transparent black and the transparent brown Pro Crow. Where are you? There it is. But because it's a wash, I like to do it on the hard palette instead of the wet palette. So I don't want to take up the entire thing with a thin layer of a very wet wash. Alright. So it's more brown than black. And then I like to add here's the contrast medium. There we go. I like to add contrast medium. I like the way it flows. And let's see how it looks. So come through here. Could probably do this at a lower cost with ink, and I probably will work up an ink mix that's close enough. I like to use acrylics for this stage, just because the oil paints tend to repel the subsequent layers of paint that I'm going to be doing. So I save the oil paints for relatively late in the process. And we come down and around in here. And this has the added bonus of kind of bringing everything together a little bit. Things kind of gel when you put a similar coating of grime on top of them. And it's also why we were using kind of brighter colors, because the wash will mute things a little bit. like the way the brown, when it kind of goes into the recesses, really kind of fills out the gradient on the green. You get like a very fun kind of gross, tetanusy kind of dirty feel. If you're into that kind of thing. Tetanus. And we just get it to there. And then it needs a little bit to rest. And so we can start the process over again elsewhere while we wait for that. About an hour to get that thing done. It's probably a little faster doing everything batch style, but I like to mix it up so that I at least get to see some stuff getting close to the finish line. It's more encouraging for me. And we're doing a more gold. In some ways, it does feel like a step backwards. That's clever. Right, exactly. The nature of having that kind of dense network of walls is that you're not really seeing the model's eye view as much. So yeah. Still plugging away on the Inquisitor 28 document. I think I'm going to break each unit type down into like 5 stat lines. Not, I was originally like, oh, I'll do one, like I'll do a specific thing and list for each type of Xenos and all that stuff, but the more I thought about it, the more I feel like, you know, the as a kind of equalizing factor, like there will be archetypes. Like this one is, you know, a stocky gunner, or like you know, like the slow bruiser, and the, you know, the fast kind of close combat focused fighter versus the fast run and gun style fighter. Yeah, I kind of consistently have too many plates in the fire. I'm definitely going to take a break from battle reports once the current campaign finishes up, because it's incredible how much time it takes to get one of those things done. Like, I think a 45-minute battle report often takes me like 7 or 8 hours to get fully produced down, like uploaded, etc. But it is really fun to be kind of delving into a campaign that I wrote. So I'm glad that I did the series. But it sure does take away from hobby time. But yeah. Oh yeah, I like to do the intro content. It's I think some of the most important content to do. Because I think that the game can be a little bit intimidating. But when you see it kind of laid out, it's not that complicated. There's not that many, like, weapons in each category. A lot of them have overlapping functions, and it's down to what you prefer flavor-wise. Alright. Not done with the gold yet. But yeah, I'm trying to kind of mix it up video-wise and get a variety of stuff. I really want to get through all the core gangs through their like special rules and stuff, and then kind of get onto more general kind of stuff. I'd like to potentially have other people on to talk about various things, but I know it's a tougher sell with video than with audio. And part of it is just down to like managing logistics, which is why I haven't gotten a podcast episode up this month yet, because I'm still trying to get the recording done. I don't know what to do for my next podcast episode. Maybe Outcast Gangs. It's a big topic. Might split that one into multiple episodes. Maybe we'll start easy and go with squats. And it's coming along. I think this one's going a little bit faster just because it's a little bit of a different composition. Maybe I'm deluding myself. What's terrible is once I'm done all this giant pile of stuff in front of me, there's an entire additional pile of stuff that's like all the different... There's a couple of walls that aren't on here, and then the rest is like all the different different what is the word I'm thinking of? like accessories that slot into the walls and the caps on the walls and all that stuff. So it's gonna be a while before I'm done this stuff. But I want to get all of it done before the next set comes out. And I think I'll probably do the next set as soon as I get it. Even though I'll want to paint the Arbites. Or RBTs or whatever. Oh, I'm actually... One thing I'm really excited for is the Vampire Warcry gang that they announced. Yeah, even for an existing player, like jumping into a new gang, seeing all of their kind of rules laid out is helpful. I really like this particular piece. I don't know what exactly it's supposed to be, but I'm a fan of it. Also, the Age of Sigmar, or not the Age of Sigmar, the Warcry wolf dudes who are like Corrin worshippers are hysterical. Like the one guy is on all fours. I love it so much. The Drukhari upgrade set, I was not like blown away by. It's nice. It's not as nice as getting a full new kit. Yeah, I really like. I would love to keep up with the boxes of Warcry stuff, but I just can't afford to do 8 $200 box sets a year. So I had to kind of make a decision. So I opted to just say I'm going to leave the new Warcry stuff off for now and just focus on these Space Hulk kits. And it helps that they keep releasing stuff that I really like. Yeah, it's pretty easy to stick with Kill Team when the releases are like consistently models that I've really wanted to have back in the game or in the game at all with the case of the Breachers. I wasn't as excited about the Casterkin or whatever, but I am a big fan of Necrons, and so even though the Necron team was not particularly like jaw-droppingly amazing, I still really like. I mean, any reason to put a Cryptek on the board, I think that they're the most fun characters in like all of Warhammer. Alright. It's funny. I saw something that needed touching up. And then I got the silver on my brush and I kind of lost what I was looking for. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the Crude are great. I really liked the Corsairs a lot. I've wanted Corsairs for ages. I still need to print some vehicles for the Corsairs. So I want to have some like whips for every single one of my kill teams. But who has the time? Yeah, I don't really have any idea about the Warcry rules situation at the moment, just because I'm very heavily distracted by other things, and it's hard to hold all of that in your mind at the same time. Yeah, it's there's a limit to how much you can kind of commit to for a game. And if you want to play a variety of games, like I really want to get into the upcoming Fallout Nuka World game, and the upcoming Star Wars Shatterport game. It's like I just don't have room on my plate for all of these different games at once. I have to kind of do them in bursts. Alright. Slowly but surely, we transform this thing. Yeah, that's understandable. The thing with the kill team stuff has been for me that I pretty much am always looking for more terrain, and terrain that is discounted because it's being sold with a box of like 2 boxes of infantry is something I'm pretty much always willing to go in for. But not everyone needs terrain the way I do. In fact, very, very few people need terrain the way I do. I will say, I would really like to buy another of the Ash Waste box. It doesn't fit into my like purchasing plans because the kill team releases are like perfectly spaced to eat my budget each go around for new minis. But the Hab terrain is so expensive on its own. It's like $80 for one Hab module, which is like I don't even understand it. I don't know who set that price. It's outlandish. $80. Or the double Hab, which is $110. When the Hive, the Gang Stronghold is only 100. don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say what will happen. I don't know how much demand there's been for the boarding action terrain, so it's hard to say how the secondary market will look. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to have 4 packs of it, because that means that for portable terrain, I'll have my Prometheum Forge stuff, I'll have my MDF Zone Mortalis stuff from Death Ray, and I'll have the 2 sets of Into the Dark terrain. And then if I get a Prometheum Forge set printed, I'll have 5 boards that are just like pick up and go. Because the biggest problem I had running events is just the terrain that's unwieldy. Kind of bogs me down. I like terrain that fits in a box, not multiple boxes. A box. I've had all this stuff in the one box, which is around somewhere. Alright. Get the Black Legion back out. And just get into all of these note details. I'm really hoping that the final Kill Team box has Tyranids in it. It seems kind of bizarre to do a whole season based around a Space Hulk and not do any Gene Stealers, like the most iconic and associated with Space Hulk's faction. Yeah, I need to talk to Kevin about. I really want to test out that. He's got like a like shanty kind of building kit that I think looks really cool. I think would make a great kind of how I do MDF kind of painting project for a video. I have no particular reason to think that it does, but I hope upon hope. It's called Gallow Fall, so it could be. It's vague enough that, like, Soul Shackle was pretty clearly going to be about Dark Eldar, and then the Shackle thing wound up being a clever reference to the RBTs. So I don't know what to expect from Gallowfall. The one downside of this whole season system is that once we get the reveals on the next kit, I'm like, okay, but what's the one after that? My little lizard brain is not interested in things that I have experienced. It's only interested in things that I haven't experienced yet. Get in here. Tell me what the next kit is. Are there Tyranids? Yeah, it's really strange that they haven't done a Votann team yet. I could see just using them as Firstborn since they have lots of similar guns, but I don't know. It's a weird thing. I often just don't know what the hell their like thought process is with that kind of stuff. Like, why haven't they done any more White Dwarf teams? When like there's a bunch of teams that could use a little bit more, attention. But I don't run a multi-billion-dollar toy company, so I guess I don't really know what it's like. Maybe there's compelling reasons that they haven't done squat rules, but I doubt it. It would be funny if they put the new squat rules out and it was like an upgrade kit thing that comes in the kill team box. Like, sorry guys, I know you just bought your Votann stuff, but here's a whole new unit, or at least a whole new set of options for you. Of course, I don't think they'll do that because there's enough variety of stuff on each of the Votann sprues that I feel like it lends itself to just being a kill team with compendium rules, or not compendium rules, but like getting rules in White Dwarf. It seems like it could, that would be super doable, but they just haven't done it. They haven't done any, in fact, White Dwarf kill team rules in like a year. I don't get it. Alright. I have some homemade wash I'm going to try out here that I haven't used in ages. I'm going to add some brown to it. It's not even that for me so much as like they have so few options in terms of like interesting, unique units and stuff in the compendium teams. Huh. Alright, let's see. Maybe I'll switch over to a brush that's better suited to handle volume applications. Using the right size brush is always nice for speeding up a process. It is definitely difficult to keep everyone happy. And people will complain no matter what you do. So sometimes it just doesn't matter. You just gotta endure. Hey, Shade. Welcome to the chat. So, I was a little sloppier with that application. This is it's going to all be very filthy, so I'm not super worried about cleanliness. I'm wondering if I have any empty paint pots that I could use, because I just used that wash and I didn't really like it, so I'd like to make a different one. I need something to mix it in. Haha! Boom. Now, does it have a little squirty part? It does. Alright. So do contrast medium. And some flow improver. And some transparent brown. And rather than black, I'll mix in some sepia ink. Yeah, the Hive Wars terrain, I feel like they give you just enough to kind of get started. It's not enough to kind of do an elaborate project. So it's kind of like, do I do a tile with it? Like a tile, maybe 2 tiles? Or do I use it as like a single level of like just laid out stuff? Alright. Where is... yes. I had water around here in a little dropper bottle, and I misplaced it. So I'm going to have to go find that. Well, I couldn't find the water, but I found the airbrush thinner. It's just as good. In fact, probably slightly better. Alright. Now, I'm going to use a little bit out of sequence just to see how it does. Yes. I think that's exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe a little bit more ink. Testing it out. Oh yeah. Nice and dirty. All right. Yeah, believe me, I understand. My terrain mountain is, yeah, it's big. And that's not including the stuff that lives in the storage at Nova. It's big without that. When you add that in, it like borders on slightly absurd. But it makes sense in the context of running events, you know. Scale is different. I'm not crazy, you're crazy. But I want to start running local events, and that means having enough terrain so that everyone can have a good immersive experience. Nice. Yeah, I really, I like sharing kind of the stuff that I come up with. Because, I don't know, I like a more colorful hive. I'm not the only one. Just checking in. It's 1:33, so I got about half an hour to go, and then I'll be signing off. All in all, this has been a productive painting session. But I suspect I'll still be working on these next week. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'll have like a night where I can't sleep, and I'll wind up painting this stuff for 8 hours straight, and it'll all get done, and next week I'll be doing a new tile or something. You can never quite tell with me. One thing I'm very excited for, that's a project I've been working on in the background. I grabbed some MDF at the store the other day that I'm going to mount foam onto in order to create the beach for the great like poison sea that our campaign is up bordering. So I'm going to be making that over the next day or two and making a video of how I do the process. Gotta check my spray paint stash before I go to the hardware store so I can figure out what I need. I try to keep a very minimal amount of spray paint on hand because I use the airbrushes for almost everything. But when doing a big piece of terrain with sand and flock and everything, I find that spray paint just has a better hold than airbrush paint because it tends to go on thicker. So I'm definitely going to spray paint that. But I actually have one of them behind me ready for kind of detailing. But I've been wanting to focus on this Gallowdark stuff, so I haven't gotten it quite as far as I'd like. But there's no game this week, so as long as I get the battle report for last week's game done, I'll actually be caught up on battle reports for the first time in ages. And I'll have more bandwidth for making the terrain video. And then the terrain will in turn show up in the battle reports. It's a virtuous cycle. I think I'll probably switch over to just doing gold for the rest of the time. If I can get everything painted up to gold, then it'll be much easier to batch paint everything else, because the other colors are fairly simple. There's small amounts of them. All right. Of course, even once I get all of these walls done, there's still all the extra accessories. So I probably will still be painting this terrain next week. Just being realistic. Oh yeah, those carpet boards are actually pretty sweet. I use them for a lot of my games. I like that they give you a variety of different looks, depending on which kill zone you buy. Yeah, when you do like a full tile build, it becomes extremely hard to store. Which is why mine are all like behind me on shelves. I never transport them anywhere. It's just too much work. I've only played on them once. Put my wrist into a into a painting tray, palette, what have you. I have to say, Monument released a paint bag that's like, they're like, it's a paint station on the go, you know, you just kind of like fold it out. And I was really excited by it. But then when I actually looked at it, I think it was like $200 for this, you know, bag with foam inside of it. And like, I love the design of it. It's very cool, but I just kind of can't justify spending $200 on like a bag for transporting paints around. But they do sell foam that's spaced for their bottles, so I might pick up the foam and then kind of either find a similar piece of luggage that can hold it or something. Because I'd like to get my collection a little bit easier to take places. Especially if I wind up moving a lot of stuff to a studio location. I want to be able to grab and go my paints so that I can work on stuff at home. I know everything in this hobby is expensive. Maybe I'll wait for a sale and I'll pick it up. I'm still really annoyed. I like kickstarted a painting station thing that was supposed to do a similar job, and the Kickstarter just straight up went bust. Like, they took the money and they never delivered anything, and they kept making up excuses until eventually they went fully silent. And like, they got kind of shirty with people about saying that it was a scam and they were taking our money, and then they went full on radio silence. And it's like, you can't both be offended that people are like impugning your integrity and not give us any updates on what you've done with our money. Like, those two things are mutually exclusive. How could you possibly get mad at people for saying you're a scam while also engaging in scammy behavior? Oh, I know, but $200 for a bag is just not, it's not something that's in my budget. Like, I have too many other priorities. Like, you know, lenses are very expensive, so like I really want a nice lens that will allow me to get even better shots for the battle reports, and that is like a $300 to $500 investment, which is as much as the camera costs. But the camera now, for now, works just great, and I think that the video looks a lot better, you know, and it will look even better when I have a lens with better stabilization. But it is what it is. Priorities are priorities. Yes, the audio the audio upgrade was really nice, and that was like, oh no, the camera's fine. The camera is quite good. I just would like a lens that allows me to get tighter shots from the tripod, because my camera doesn't have in-body stabilization. It only gets stabilization from the lens. So what I want is to be able to you know, keep everything mounted on the tripod and shoot from afar, but have much tighter ability to shoot in on models and stuff. So I need a better zoom. Oh, I know. I know that it's about the content more than the camera, but this is more about kind of my aesthetic considerations, like how I want to frame things. It's kind of it's like an artistic thing. It's less about utility and more about the kind of expressive side. Um, but yeah, if I could get a nicer lens this year, that would be good. I really want to get this thing that should make my life a little easier for editing. Oh yeah, so I want to get that Dune Sculler in there, but my friend is like really reticent to put any more kind of slow stuff into his gang. Like he's like kind of, you know, he's worried about it. Yeah, the how often this stuff kind of gets left behind in the Rolling Road missions. I really wish the Dune Scuttler had a 7-inch movement, because then at least it could come back, you know, and then maybe have it so that if the handler is on the board, it uses the handler's intelligence for the check or something. Yeah, I've had mostly good luck with Kickstarter too. I mean, obviously sometimes things are late, but at least they usually stay in contact about it. Like, getting completely ghosted has definitely put a real stick in my craw. If that's the expression. I don't remember if that's the expression. It has annoyed me. Alright. Woohoo! Making progress on the gold. But yeah, the other big investment I want to make, I mean, big investment, it's all these things are just things that compete with my other hobby purchases. But I really would like to grab a physical interface for working with Premiere Pro. It's like a thing that I really want it's like a USB thing that you plug in that has a scroll wheel for scrolling through the timeline, and it has a bunch of buttons that you can map to different functions. So it would just allow me to tighten up kind of the efficiency of editing, not having to kind of like just little things like not having to drag your mouse across and click something. When you only have to do it once, it seems silly to like make a physical macro for it. But when you are working on something and you have to do that step 100 times or 150 times, having a physical button for it becomes much more important. And then when you're dealing with going through the timeline, like scrolling through it, it's really nice to have a physical scroller that you can stop at a precise point. So those are minor things that once I do upgrade them will be like a quality of life upgrade, even though it's not the highest priority. I think the next lens that I buy will be this cheaper $80 lens that I really want. That should be nice for framing. It's a lot of work to get the shot to work with this kind of like inexpensive lens because it doesn't have stabilization. But once you line it up perfectly, you can get a fantastic bokeh, that like depth of field kind of blur on the backdrop, and that's what I really want for my lore videos that I'll be putting out soon. Too many things to do videos on. Too many things. The music went off again. as to be expected. Probably should have said it on repeat. But what can you do? Alright, 10 more minutes of terrain painting. And then we call it a day. And maybe I go to the hardware store and get supplies for making my beach board. Yeah, I could totally understand skipping on Kickstarter. The only reason that I funded the project I did was because they were coming out with a product that kind of didn't have any real competition. And so I wanted to get my hands on it. And usually the fastest way to get your hands on it is to order the Kickstarter. But of course, that depends on them actually finishing the product and not ghosting everyone. I wouldn't say that I'm angry about it, because I'm sure it's been rough for them too. Because I'm sure that they did want to produce the product that they did. But I am frustrated because, like, apparently someone put the designs, like a copycat design on for download, and you can 3D print it. But like the whole point of getting the paint station thing was to have it be made out of like a nice durable material, not like a 3D printed thing that's gonna break. So I just kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'll just 3D print one. Maybe when I'm done with my floors. Getting there. Slowly but surely, this project marches on. Oh yeah, I like the creepy finger forest stuff. I think it's a little bit different when it's something that can like be manufactured relatively simply, like with, you know, resin casting or whatever, versus like a thing that is going to require a bunch of like factories in China and all that. Like when the person doing the Kickstarter has no experience dealing with that stuff, then they're going to run into a wall at some point. So definitely a strong case for sticking with people who have delivered in the past. Yeah, some people just don't understand the economics of what they're doing when they put a Kickstarter up. They're like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to get all this money, yada, yada, yada. It's like, okay, but have you actually thought about, like, the steps along the way, like, where all your costs are? Like, most Kickstarters don't make a profit. Like, it just covers the startup expenses. So if you're counting on it to make a profit, then you are going to be sorely disappointed most of the time. But it's a little bit risky. Like you get a ton of Kickstarters, and then you ramp up production, and it turns out that there's not that many people outside of the people that backed you that wanted your product, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of risk involved. I get why people have issues delivering. But ultimately, that was like 2 years ago. No, over 2 years ago that I paid that money. It makes no difference to me now in like a financial sense. I just wish that I would have had the product. Because I certainly can't afford the Monument one. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. I might finish the gold on these today. Not right now, but maybe later tonight when I paint. Of course, I've saved a couple of panels to do for like a how-to video. And I do that a lot, and about half the time I wind up not making the how-to video, and then these two random models are not painted, and they just sort of sit there mocking me. But I am going to do the terrain video, because when I get this stuff done, it'll be really nice to show it off, and then if people ask how I did it, I can just point them at the video. Oh, hey, look at the time. I guess I'm going to be wrapping up in a moment here. Was fun hanging out with everyone while I got this slow, tedious process underway. All right. So the only ones I have left on this desk. Wow. And then the two that I'm saving for making a painting video. All right. I'm actually going to do this. I am going to get both sets of Gallowdark painted. So, peace everybody. I'll be back here next week, same time, same bat channel. Sorry, bunny. All right.